Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. We get together most weekday mornings, 8 o'clock Central, to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. We have my screen shared here, and in the background, we have a couple different tabs we'll be going through, but right now I'm on 509pacific.org. That is our 501c3 nonprofits website. Good to keep maybe as a saved page. This is where individuals can come enroll unless they're coming through one of our resellers, and anyone that's looking to become a grant coordinator slash reseller. So here on the home page, we have both of those important access points. Today's agenda, today's June 23rd, today's agenda is going to be very specific. We're going to do some implementation training. We continue to make subtle tweaks based upon what's working and what's not. A couple tweaks to discuss that I think you'll be very satisfied with. So we open it up with a little bit of a spin, how anyone can get 100,000 to start or grow a business. But specifically, what we're talking today is about phases one and two. And of course, if we participate in phases one and two, then this can happen. All right, so let's stretch this out a bit. Phase one is the simplest part. Phase two has more moving elements, but phase one is, we know, you know, I know, if you want business funding, you have to have a fundable business. And the easiest way to get a fundable business is by getting an express shelf corp. So all of you who are grant coordinators slash resellers, that's what you do. You're out helping educate about financial literacy, about how to access capital, and you're getting these free express shelf corps into people's hands. So phase one is exactly what each of you do if you are either a grant coordinator, reseller, or considering becoming one. Now, why is that? Again, we need to have a fundable business if we want business funding. A lot of folks will say, well, I'll just skip phase one. I'll just go on down to phase two, which is funding, but that doesn't work. We need to have a fundable business first. Now, do they have to get an express shelf corp from you or from us to have a fundable business? Of course not, but it is the simplest, the easiest way. And with the grant, those are free. We need about 7 days to deliver that. Now, maybe it'll be 6, maybe it'll be 8, but around 7 days from the time that a client enrolls for a free express shelf corp, we will be able to provide them their deliverables. If you are not crystal clear on what those deliverables are, you'll definitely want to make a note. And after today's session, go learn what those deliverables are. And there's a couple of ways to see that. You can, here on 509 Pacific, you can click for the grant packet. It'll open up and it'll specifically tell you what the deliverables are. It'll tell you on the flyer. It'll show it on the comparison sheet and so forth. So it's redundant and consistent in what that includes. That's not really our point today. But the bottom line is phase one is simple, it's risk-free. Any of you that are resellers, you don't have to sit there on pins and needles and say, oh my goodness, if I sell this, could anything go wrong? No, nothing will go wrong. It's providing a set of deliverables to get them an express shelf corp. So I'm going to go into phase two, which is our primary topic, but anyone have questions on phase one? So there's two ways to access phase one. Either individuals can come to 509pacific.org, click here just like I did, and it'll bring this up and they can enroll, or more than likely they're going to be working with one of our resellers, and then our resellers slash grant coordinators, no contract, no cost. They fill this out. We send them an implementation packet that includes the same elements that we use in our packet. It includes an editable flyer that the reseller can put their information on, includes an editable comparison sheet that the reseller can change the processing fee and put their information on, and then includes the actual purchase agreement. So phase one, crazy simple. I doubt that there's any questions, but if there are, just type them into the Q&A. But our point today is to go through some of the implementation specifics of phase two, which you may not be familiar with, and then we've made a couple tweaks. Nothing bad, all good, I think. You can tell me. So we have a few steps we need to go through. So phase two. First, so let's go back. So phase one, how do they get in phase one? They enroll. They either enroll with us right here, or they enroll with you with your editable template that we provide you. So that's how they get into phase one. We need 7 days to deliver. Then we go to phase two. So now we're in phase two. What happens in phase two? Well, they need to complete a funding proposal to enter into phase two. And that is, in fact, right here. So we will send to them. So when we're sending them the deliverables from phase one, they'll also, at the same time, in that same email, that same communication, be given the funding proposal and say, hey, if you want our help to go get funding, go ahead, click here. So now we're into phase two. If they don't want to do that, that's their choice. They don't have to, but otherwise, then this is kind of the end of the line, right? So I'll put a line across here. So if all they want is the ShelfCorps, great, delivered in around 7 days. They can do whatever they want at that point. 99% of clients, though, want our help with funding. So we'll get rid of that line. And that means that they're going to complete this funding proposal application. Now let's look at it for a moment. It's remarkably simple, right? It's a one-pager. The top of the information is the business, and the bottom is key person. Now, on the top, not everything is required, but we've already, at this point, if we're going through the normal process, they have their ShelfCorp already. So most of this they'll have, but if there's anything that they don't know or they don't have, they can leave it blank. If you see a little star by it, it means it's required. Notice none of these are required fields. So again, we send them their deliverables from phase one in around 7 days. And in that same email, they have the option, if they wish, to move forward into the funding phase, what we call phase two, and they will be completing this. Okay? If there's any questions, type them into the Q&A. Let me know. Now, what will happen after that? We're going to get them offers right away. I think we've done a poor job of letting you know how quickly people are able to go to funding. They're going to get funding offers within 24 days. 24 days, 24 hours. 24 hours, they're going to get their first round of funding offers from the time they fill this out. So let's say same business day or next business day in almost all instances. Now, notice I didn't say, oh, they're going to get $1 million in 24 hours. I'm not saying that, not trying to infer that. This is what we call the first tranche, the first round of funding. So in almost all cases, if we look at the timeline, so 7 days to do phase one, plus or minus. Drake said it took his client only 2 days. Yeah, so sometimes it can be quicker, sometimes it can be a little slower. We're waiting on documentation from the Secretary of State. We're waiting on documentation sometimes from the EIN. But the bottom line is phase one, 7 days, then they get the deliverables and it automatically takes them into phase two, the funding phase if they want. Now, everyone will get at least one offer. Debbie says she didn't get any offers, and Debbie, I apologize, that's not true. Everyone gets at least one funding offer. Now, many people get multiple. People will ask, well, how much will they get in phase one? It can vary tremendously. It's rarely above 200,000. Could be, but rarely. It's going to be across a number of different lenders so they can pick and choose based upon the terms and the interest rates they want. They can stack them and accept multiple, or they can take none, but everyone will get at least one offer. Most people will get multiple offers. And so this is now just what we call the first tranche. So they have the ShelfCorp, and right away we're going to look for funding options for them. That's not the end of the line. We're going to keep going through the numerical list here. But I don't think that we've done a very good job of clarifying. They're going to see financial results right away. All right, so let's stretch this down a little bit more. So then we're going to go complete the intake form. The intake form is new. It's a process that's not new, but the form is new. So let me go ahead and bring it up here. So this is the phase 2 intake form. It used to be we just kind of verbally consulted with them, but we realized let's have a form so we can capture everything in writing. And so I want to go through in detail what's on this intake form. So it says phase 2 is the funding phase, and that matches, right? That's what we said. Phase 2 is the funding phase. Phase 1 is having a fundable entity, fundable business. Now we're in phase 2. For us to create a funding plan specific to your wants, needs, and mitigating circumstances, we need a basic set of data that in this form that's an efficient way to get it from them. We want them to understand the two-phase approach. So we built in the hyperlink, and just so you know, that's the same training that is right here. Same training that's right here. And those of you that are becoming a grant coordinator, it's the same training that's right here. So we have one training that describes the two phases, I think, very effectively. We want everyone that's considering participating in the grant to view it. We want everyone that's considering becoming a grant coordinator to view it. And then over here, anyone that's actually in the program, we want to make sure that they viewed it. So if you've not viewed it, you probably should. So we're going to actually ask them to initial off that they viewed it. Now, it's on the honor system, of course. But educated clients are our best clients because what we want to do is manage expectations. All right, so then it says, please complete this form to the best of your ability. No worries, we can easily revise it. So the point is, they may say, well, I need some help, and I'll go through it with you. We'll even kind of role play one out. But they may need some help with it, but we need what's in their mind as a starting point. So then when we have our first consultation with them in phase 2, we can review this and start to refine it if needed. So we need to know the client's name, email, and phone. No surprises there, and all of those are required. Now, capital raise goals. We want to go ahead and find out here at the get-go. Now, you might say, well, Tom, this didn't make sense, right? We've already done the first round of funding, right, over here, and then we're going to ask them how much money they want. Well, the first round of funding, they're going to get whatever offers they qualify for. They don't have to take them. So they might only want 100,000, but they might get offered 200,000. They might not qualify for even 100,000. It'll vary based upon their baseline credibility. But the bottom line is here, now we're trying to identify the goal. So what is the specific amount of funding that they want? So let's role play this with Kenny. Kenny, you're online. What number, you be my pretend client, Kenny, what number would you like me to put in here? What's a dollar amount that you would like to raise? All right, well, 250,000 is a very common number. People can put in a bigger number, they can put in a smaller number. It's whatever they want, right? Oh, no, Kenny says 2 million. Okay, so let's change it. So that's great. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it matters a lot to the client, but there's not some right or wrong answer. But we need to figure out, what are we trying to accomplish with the client? This is the form where we pick it up. Some of you are real chatty. And so you combine you being chatty with clients being chatty, and there might have been 16 hours of discussion before they got to this point. But what you might want to do is manage your time better and say, hey, client, thanks for telling me about all your goals and aspirations, but our implementation team will work with you to get everything organized. So that way they don't just keep chatting about how they want 1 million, 2 million, 5 million. It's a standardized process, right? So we've got phase one, we need to have a fundable business. And then phase two is funding regardless if the answer is 2 million or 200,000 or 2 billion. This is the same process regardless of the dollar amount. So then we need to ask timeline. So we're going to keep our role play going with Kenny. Kenny, what's the time frame in which you need this capital request fulfilled? And you and I know pretty much everyone's going to say ASAP or right away or even be sarcastic and say yesterday. But we want to find out what the time frame is so we're managing expectations. And Kenny responded 30 to 45 days. Great. So there's no right or wrong answers on this. Whatever they put in is fine. This is where we're finding out what they're wanting. Now, the third question is a little bit harder to understand, so I encourage you to kind of pay attention here. How much liquid funds can you contribute? And there's a little asterisk, which means here. And what it describes is some, but not all, financing sources require a 10% owner contribution. We need to know your liquidity to match to the right type of financing and or if we need to do an initial round. So let's say that Kenny, which we're role playing with Kenny says he needs 2 million. And so then the question is, well, do you have, essentially we're looking to see if he has 10% of that, which would be 200,000. Well, there's a good chance that Kenny or the client doesn't have the 10%. Does that disqualify them? Not at all. We're just trying to figure out, do they have the liquidity needed for a traditional loan? Do we need to look at some alternatives? Or might we need to do a split capital raise where we first go raise the 10% and then go raise the other 90%? So again, I don't want you to be too bogged down by this, but because it's not your role to work with clients on, but I just do want you to understand what we're going to be doing with each client in phase two, and we're on this intake form right now. So again, no right or wrong answers, we just want to know. But let's get down here to the bottom, and I really want to drill into this because this is where a lot of clients struggle, and we don't want them to struggle. So we need to understand what's called in the industry their use of funds. Well, you probably know what that term means. I know what it means. It's part of the business plan, it's part of the financing, but that doesn't resonate with the average person. So we say it's like your shopping list. What is it you want the money for? So only the first category or the first row is required because we want them to say something, but essentially we want them to break down what they want the money for. Now we're going to put together the business plan and get everything of this in formal presentation order, but we need to start with some basics. How much funding are they looking for? Time frame? How is their liquidity? And then what do they want the money for? Now, you'll be a little bit surprised. Some people, they don't know what they want the money for. They just think it'd be cool to get some money. Well, that's not going to work so well, right? We need to be able to put into the loan package, into the business plan, the uses of funds, what's needed. So again, they don't have to have everything extraordinarily refined, but we need to start to understand, is it, I need 100,000 of working capital. I need, and I'm just putting in examples. I need 1.5 million to buy an apartment complex, or I need 250,000 to buy an existing business. And again, we'll work with them to refine it, but I guess I misspelled existing, didn't I? But what we want to do is have a starting point so our first call is more efficient with them. So the purpose here of today's discussion is to make sure we all understand the two phases. The first phase is what you do. You have no responsibility for implementing phase two. You have no responsibility for describing, for supporting, or for conducting phase two. But I want you to understand what the clients are going to go through, because phase one doesn't get them money. Phase one gets them positioned to qualify for funding. And now I just want you to understand some of the steps we go through. Okay, so taking it again from the top. So they're going to first complete the funding proposal, which I showed you, simple one pager. Top half information is going to primarily come from the ShelfCorp itself. If they have a different business, so this is a question that Troy's asking, which is a good point. What if they have another business? Well, we need to fill this all out based on whatever business we're doing a capital raise for. And so if the client has a prior business that they want money for, plus we're going to do a ShelfCorp for money, that really needs to be two different capital raises. But regardless, we're going to have them fill out the funding proposal application. We're going to get them offers. They'll get funding normally within a week for that first tranche. And then we're going to do the phase two intake form so we understand where we're going. Hopefully that makes sense. And any questions on the intake form? Okay, so let's move on then to my notes. All right, so they've completed the intake form. I see that Toyley's asking, does she get a copy of the intake form? No. If you're a reseller, all you do is phase one. You control how much money you make from phase one. You will make 5% of the client's capital raise from phase two, but you're not part of the implementation team. So Toyley, we want you and everyone else to be able to focus on phase one, keep bringing them in, bringing them in, bringing them in. We'll do our part to take care of phase two, which will generate you the 5 points. All right, so let's move on. Then we're going to do a PFS. PFS stands for Personal Financial Statement. We actually brought on someone that's going to specifically do that. We're growing our team, as you would expect, as volume grows, and hopefully we'll move into our new office within the next 30 days. They're going to be back out again working on it today. It always seems like it takes forever. But regardless, we're adding team members, so we have a team member that'll specifically work with them to put together their PFS, stands for Personal Financial Statement. That's needed for most business loans. It looks at the assets and liabilities of the business owner. Now, the assets and liabilities of the business itself comes in the form of the balance sheet, and we provide the balance sheet. That's part of what we include in the financials. So the business financials we're good with. The personal financials we need to get from the business owner, who's typically the key person that was referred to here. All right, so the PFS. And again, if you want to go through the process, that's probably the best way to learn it. You don't have to, but you can sell yourself a ShelfCorp and go through the process if you want. So the PFS is step number 5. And then whatever we need to do to prepare the file for funding. So essentially getting the client from where they're at to where they need to be to qualify for their goals is number 6. And then we go to funding. We guarantee a minimum of 100,000. Most clients want more than 100,000. Most clients get more than 100,000, but the contract states a minimum of 100,000. And that's the phase 2 contract, right? How much does the phase 1 contract promise? Nothing, right? Phase 2 is where the funding is. All right, Lamy wants to know when he gets paid. Well, Lamy, you control the money on the front side, right? You're determining how much you want to mark it up. So going back over here. So you control, Lamy, like the base processing fee for the free ShelfCorp, because the ShelfCorp's free, it's provided by the grant. The processing fee, the baseline is $4.99, Lamy. So anything that you charge above that is your upfront profit. Now, again, in the editable one, you won't have our information on it, you'll have yours. So, number one, you're paid up front. We've had many trainings on this, Lamy. So, if you're not familiar with it, you might want to go back to the other YouTube trainings. And then, secondly, you're paid 5% of the capital raise. Does that make sense, Lamy? All right, so let's scroll down here, and we've just got our basic contact information. So this is really good for you, Lamy, or anyone that needs to go back and see prior trainings. We post most of our trainings on YouTube, so you can go back and learn more. We even did an interactive spreadsheet income calculator that maybe would help you, Lamy. But anyway, if you need support, we recommend texting 903-347-8042. That's not a phone that we answer, it's a text line. You can email us, you can schedule calls, and then as I showed you, 509 Pacific is our main website where people can come in directly if they're not working with a reseller, and or they can come in and become a grant coordinator, become a reseller. All right, so let's go through the questions, the comments, the concerns that any of you have. All right, so Drake says, how does he prevent a client from circumventing? And that's a great point. So Drake, you're not bringing your clients to our website, are you? No. You have an editable document set, the same document set that we use, but it has your information on it, right? Remember, we provided that to you, Drake. So you have your own flyer, you have your own comparison sheet, you have your own agreement. So you're controlling the client communication, you're getting them under contract as a reseller, and you're collecting whatever you want to collect from them if you're wanting to mark up the processing fee. So I don't think there's any way that he can circumvent you, Drake, because you're controlling the relationship. Once the client has enrolled, then you're going to upload the client agreement into the portal that we provide you. You forward our portion, the $4.99. Anything above that, you keep, and then we're going to implement. And so then we'll send them an email to acknowledge. We'll let them know, hey, we need about 7 days. And so that takes us through phase one. So if that didn't answer your question, Drake, let me know. All right, Kenny says he likes the form. Well, thank you. It's the same information that we were collecting verbally. Now we're just using the form to standardize it. Gino asked about receivables. Yeah. So that's a good point. So we include for free, Gino, receivables, and we call it collateral. So it's right here. Oops, sorry. Number 5. And if you go to the agreement, it talks about collateral here. And then it's on the spreadsheet or the comparison sheet here. And of course, it's in the agreement. So yes, we provide collateral for free to each participant. That's one of the deliverables. And so that was my point. If you all are not very, very familiar with the deliverables, kind of shame on you. You need to be. And you can either simply go to 509pacific.org and click on this link, which will bring up the packet and you can review it. Or if you are a distribution partner, grant coordinator, reseller, you'll have the same documents in an editable format. All right, Gino, let me know if that didn't answer your question. Yeah, my goal today wasn't to sell you on, what do they get with the ShelfCorp? It was specifically to help you understand the 2 phases. All right, so Debbie talks about credit. Yeah, so credit can be an issue, but what have we done? We've added the credit sweep in for free. So individuals that aren't strong so there's 2 types of credit, personal and business. Business credit will add trade lines, so that's already built in. That's part of what we do. If they don't have strong personal credit, the credit sweep is included now. And we've talked about that. We've trained on that. And in fact, it's on this training as well. So if you've not watched this training, really recommend that you watch it. So no one will get left behind because of credit issues. Let's see. Kenny says, but we don't know how many ShelfCorps are needed to get funding. I don't know. I think you're given specific client scenarios. So I know a lot of you get really, really caught up with client specifics, but really they either need a fundable business or they don't. And if they do, sell them an Express Shelf Corp. You choose the price. Then when we work with them in phase two, we'll start digging in and understanding what they need. But the more time you all are spending on clients with clients on these types of topics, you're just wasting your time because it's not being captured into the system. We're going to have to ask them again, and it's not your role. So the key is know what we do, but let us do what we do, and you do what you do, which is sell ShelfCorps and get paid on the front end, get paid on the back end. All right, let's see if there's any. Sorry, the tractors out here, they're working. If you hear the beeping sound. Let's see what other questions there are. Troy says, could they circumvent? Well, I don't think they can circumvent, Troy, because the whole point is you're controlling the sales process. You're getting them under contract, and the contract is with you, and you're collecting the front end money. And so I think there's zero risk of circumvention. Now, you don't want to go send them all to our website. That wouldn't make sense. You all should have your own landing page to send them to. You shouldn't be sending them to our website. But you're right. If you have some convoluted way of pitching that's referring them to us before they sign up, that wouldn't make sense. You're a reseller. It's called white label, private label type of model. Drake says he was thinking about sending them a video. No, I wouldn't send them any of our videos. You can take any of our information and rebrand it, but I think you do risk losing people if you're not treating it as a white label or reseller private label program. Again, sorry for the tractor. They're working on the plumbing in the new building. Let's see. Kenny says, can one contract over mulplite? Mulpete? I don't know what that means. Let's see. Bilal's asking about the credit sweep. Yeah, so the credit sweep is free. And so usually we can take care of the credit sweep concurrent with this. So during step 6, and we can break that out. So during step 6, we'll say 6A, we can implement the credit sweep if needed. At the same time, we can work on editing the documents. What does that mean? Well, when someone buys an Express Shelf Corp, it comes standardized. It's a management consulting firm. It's set up for a $100,000 capital raise. The business plan is consistent with that, the financials. But if we find out that they want something different, it's not a problem, but now we need to edit those documents because all the paperwork has to match. And so during that step 6, we can take care of any personal credit issues they have, as well as business credit, adding the trade lines, as well as editing the documents. So step 6 was kind of a catch-all, but it won't be a problem if they have credit issues. John Hall asked, what's the typical time frame to prepare the PFS? We have a new system in place. We'll send them an email. It has some training, has the link, and they should be able to complete it in 15 minutes is my estimate, about 15 minutes. All right, let's see here. Lamey asked about people outside the U.S. You do not have to be in the United States to participate. So the process is the same, Lamy, right? You're going to, well, go over here. You're going to get them under contract with you. They're going to pay you whatever you want them to pay you. We'll get them their ShelfCorp documents in around 7 days. And then the implementation's the same. So don't worry about how tall they are, their gender, their race, their location. If they're willing to sign the contract with you and willing to pay you whatever you want to be paid for the processing fee, we can take care of the funding for them. So you don't have to worry about pre-qualifying. Make sense, Lamy? Kenny asks, can one contract cover multiple ShelfCorps? Well, no. Each contract is for a separate capital raise. And so if someone wants to buy an apartment complex, start a bakery, and I don't know, I'm just inserting random examples, but each capital raise should be a separate contract. And that's because lenders can get confused. We don't want to have a use of funds that seems all jacked up. And I used bad examples here, but so let's go back. So can you imagine if they said, well, I want 100,000 working capital. I want $1 million to buy an apartment complex. Okay, well, we're doing okay so far. 3, I want $1 million to buy a grocery store. I'm just trying to give you examples of unrelated. So, no, this should be one capital raise. This should be a different one. Lenders are not going to benefit. Lenders are not going to receive well when the uses of funds seem scattered. So again, we're going to help them clean this up. This is just a point of getting some initial understanding from them. And of course, these dollars here should all add up to this. This is essentially the cumulative amount of whatever is on their shopping list. All right, well, we're running a bit long, so let's summarize. And if you need any individual assistance, you can always text us on the text line. Today, we wanted to make sure that you understood how anyone legally, effectively, honestly can get at least 100,000 to start or grow a business. It's in the implementations, not too good to be true. It's a 2-phase approach. You're involved with phase 1. You have no involvement with phase 2, other than the fact that you're paid 5 points of the client's capital raise. So if you can muster up some clients, you educate them, they enroll in the ShelfCorp with you, they pay you whatever you want them to pay, and then we handle getting the deliverables to them in about 7 days, or as little as 2, as what Drake said earlier. But in around 7 days, then if they want, they can move forward into funding. We take care of all of this. This is not your responsibility. I'm not here trying to train you how to fill out all of this. I just want you to understand what's happening so you understand the process. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day, and sorry for the tractor in the background. Have a good day. Bye.